Let's start with our next chapter, that is your basic concept of national income. Now in basic concept of national income, we will include firstly domestic territory. Now what is a domestic territory? Domestic territory means the political frontier of that country. Political frontier means whatever part of that country or whatever property of that country is under the political frontier of that country, or political government, or central government, state government. Now, if it is not a political frontier, for example, the embassy is not a political frontier. If Indian embassy situated in Russia is not a political frontier of India, but still it will be counted as your economic territory. Okay? Remember that whenever you are given any kind of embassy or any kind of military establishment, for say if military establishment of America is set up in India, so that military establishment in India will be referred to economic territory of USA. If Indian embassy is situated in Russia, so over there also, whether it is in Russia or in India, if it is in Indian embassy, so it will be counted as the economic territory of India only. So basically, ships and aircraft owned and operated by a normal resident between two or more countries will be included in your economic territory. Then fishing vessels or any floating platforms will also be included in your domestic territory. Embassy, consulates or military establishment of the country abroad are also included in your domestic territory. Now, what are the things which are not included in the domestic territory? Firstly, the embassy of some other country in our country. For say अगर रशिया की एम्बेसी हमारी कंट्री में है, so it will not be included in economic territory of India. It will be considered as the economic territory of Russia only. Similarly, if any UNO office or WHO office or some other kind of international branch office, for say IMF office, that will not be a part of our Indian economic territory, because these are the international branches and international branches are not included in your economic territory or domestic territory. Next topic is your normal resident. Now in normal resident, see, normal resident means any individual who originally a part of that country because he is born over there. नॉर्मल रेजिडेंट वैसे तो वो होता है, बट स्टिल अ नॉर्मल रेजिडेंट कैन बी अ रेजिडेंट हु हैज़ इकोनॉमिक इंटरेस्ट इन दैट कंट्री मोर देन 1 ईयर. ओके, वैसे तो वो नॉर्मल रेजिडेंट होता है जो आपका वहाँ पे एक्चुअल में बोर्न हुआ हो, बट स्टिल इफ ही हैज़ सम इकोनॉमिक इंटरेस्ट इन दैट कंट्री and he has lived over there for more than 1 year, so he will also be considered as a normal resident of that country. Okay, for example, foreign tourists, they don't have any economic interest in our country, so they will not be considered as normal resident. But a person of China, if a citizen of China is living in India and he is working for 2 years as his economic interest in the India, so he will also be considered as normal resident of our India. Now, what are the facts or what are the people who are not included in your national residence? Firstly, foreign tourists are not included. Any person who has given the medical visit in India, he is also will not be included in your normal resident. Then foreign staff of embassy, officials, diplomats and members of armed forces will also be not included. Then international organizations like WHO, UNO will also not be considered as your normal residents. Employees of international organizations will also not be included in our normal resident unless they have worked for more than 1 year. If they have worked for more than 1 year, then they will be considered as the normal resident of our country. Next one is your, if border workers are here, for example, Indian army person, one person is of Indian army and he is along the border, he is in Chinese border for more than 2 years or for more than 1 year, he will also be considered as a normal resident of our country only. He will not belong to China because he has lived over there for more than 1 year, because his economic interest is purely with India. So those person who are living at the border but still have economic interest in their own country, so they will be considered as a normal resident of that particular country only. Now, basic difference between citizenship and residentialship. Now, citizenship means the person should be born in that particular country. If you are born in India, so you will be considered as an Indian citizen. If you are born in USA, so you will be considered as USA citizen. If you are born in Russia, so you will be considered as Russian citizen. Citizenship can be obtained by two kinds only. First one, if you are born over there, or second one, you have legal right, you have applied for the citizenship and lawfully you have gained that citizenship. Now next one is your residentialship. Residentship is very easy. We have read about it. Resident, normal resident, same it is. A person who is living in a particular country for more than 1 year for economic interest, so he will be considered as a normal resident of that country. Now, one thing to be noted, a person who is a citizen of USA can also be a normal resident of India at the same time. Okay, but a normal resident of India cannot be compulsory, it is not compulsory that he must be the citizen of India only. He can be the citizen of USA, Russia, or whatever country you are given. Now next one is your factor income and transfer income. See, factor income means the income which you earn by land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. These are the four factor of production. From these things, if you are earning anything, from land you are earning rent, from labor you are earning wages, from capital interest, and entrepreneur means profit. So if you are getting the income out of these four resources, then you are given factor income. Okay, these are the part of your production. And if factor income is dual in nature, if you will do something, then you will get something. Okay, this is two-sided income, that if you are doing something, then only you are getting something, otherwise you will not get that. But transfer income is an income which is one-sided. That means here you have not to do any kind of effort, but you are getting something. For example, pension, old age pension, you are not doing any service to the government, but still you are getting it. Same as it is scholarship. You are not doing anything over there. You are not going to help them, or you are not going to give them any other thing. But still, the scholarship money will be of your use only. You don't have to give any kind of service to them in the return. Unemployment allowances and pocket money also. Now those people who think that pocket money is some kind of your factor income, that you are doing any kind of work at home. You see, pocket money, we get pocket money when we do some kind of work at home, but that will not be included in the economic part, because that is your personal interest. Your parents are not giving you pocket money just to do any work or do something. They are giving you out of love. Now some people will say, no, it is not out of love, it is for the homework or some kind of other work, but it will not be considered in economic activities, as that money actually earned by your father or your mother, so it will be considered as their income only and not your income. Next one is your factor income and transfer income, the difference. So factor income is included in your national income as well as your domestic income, but transfer income is neither included in national income and nor included in domestic income. Okay, factor income is a earning concept. That means you are earning something by giving some kind of services or goods. Whereas transfer income is a receipt income. That means receipt concept. That means you are just receiving it, you are not doing anything to get it. Next one is your final goods and intermediate goods. When we are talking about final goods means that product is completely ready for final consumption. That means you are going to sell out that product in the final market. That product will not be further processed. Whereas intermediate goods are those goods which are to be processed or which are going through a procedure so that it can be resold. Okay, final goods are not resold, whereas intermediate goods are those goods which are purchased with the mindset that we have to resell it anyhow. For example, if a car company is purchasing cars just to resell it, so these cars will be considered as intermediate goods. Whereas if a person is getting car for his personal consumption, so it will be considered as final good of that car. Next one is your, see, here are some of the examples. Paper purchased by a publisher. See, that publisher is going to use it again so that he can print the news over that paper. So that paper is an intermediate good for that purchaser, because he is going to use it again and then sell it in the market. Whereas if a paper is purchased by you people, then it will be considered as your final consumption or final product. Milk purchased by household. Now if household person is further making butter from that milk, or making kheer or some other kind of sweet from that milk, then also it will not be considered as your intermediate good, because whatever you are making from that milk, you are not going to resell it. अगर आप उस दूध से खीर बना रहे हो, you are not going to resell it in the market, you are going to consume it. So if household is purchasing anything from the market, it will be considered as the final good. Now next one is your consumption good and capital good. Consumption goods are those goods which are used to satisfy consumers directly. That means these are the goods which we will directly use and then they will have no other use. अगर आपने कोई गुड लिया, उसको डायरेक्टली कंज्यूम कर लिया, दैट इज द कंजम्पशन गुड. ये फर्दर आपके प्रोडक्शन प्रोसेस में काम नहीं आते. दीज आर नॉट यूटिलाइज्ड और दीज आर नॉट यूज्ड इन प्रोडक्शन फंक्शंस. Whereas capital goods are those goods which are used for some production work, for other goods or services. For example, if a person is purchasing a taxi and then he is using it to earn some income, so that taxi will be considered as your capital good, क्योंकि आप उस टैक्सी से कुछ ना कुछ earn कर रहे हो. Okay. Next one is your difference between consumption good and capital good. Now consumption goods directly satisfy human needs. They are the final product and final consumption. Whereas capital goods directly satisfy नहीं करते, वो indirectly satisfy करते हैं. Next one is your consumption goods are not for production capacity. वो प्रोडक्शन पर्पस या प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी के लिए यूज नहीं किए जाते हैं. वेयर एज कैपिटल गुड्स आर यूज्ड टू रेज द प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी. Similarly, consumption goods are those goods which have limited life expectancy. As we are going to use it finally, so they will extinguish or they will be empty और बहुत ज़्यादा जल्दी ख़त्म हो जाएंगे. वेयर एज कैपिटल गुड्स वो बहुत ज़्यादा लंबे टाइम तक चल सकते हैं, जस्ट बिकॉज वी आर गोइंग टू यूज इट इन द प्रोडक्शन प्रोसेस. दे आर एनहेंसिंग आवर प्रोडक्शन प्रोसेस, दे आर नॉट डायरेक्टली यूजफुल. नेक्स्ट वन इज योर gross investment, net investment and depreciation. Now when we are talking about your gross investment, now gross investment means total investment, whatever, maybe it is in stock or maybe it is in some kind of shares or maybe some kind of other business. जितनी भी आपने इन्वेस्टमेंट की है अपने फिक्स्ड एसेट्स में और अनसोल्ड स्टॉक में इन अ कंप्लीट ईयर, that will be considered as your gross investment. ऐसी जितनी भी इन्वेस्टमेंट आपने की है पूरे एक साल के अंदर अंदर, that will be considered as your gross investment. Now gross investment includes depreciation also. See, if we are purchasing some kind of goods, so commerce student will completely know that what do you mean by depreciation. Whenever we are purchasing something, so that means that value or that asset will come with a depreciation value also. For example, if I am purchasing a phone, so that phone which I have purchased at a cost of 15,000 will not be resold after 2 months with same price. अगर मैं 2 महीने बाद सेम प्रोडक्ट आपका बेच रही हूँ तो वो 2 महीने बाद सेम प्रोडक्ट 15,000 का नहीं बिकेगा. So at that particular time if I am purchasing it and then I am reselling it, तो जो बीच का जो गैप आया, जो बीच का डिफरेंस आया 15,000 से, अगर मेरा फ़ोन 12,000 में दोबारा रीसोल्ड हुआ तो जो 3,000 डिडक्ट हो गए विदाउट एनी रीज़न. So these 3,000 is because of depreciation, because I have used it. This is a second hand product, wear or tear, something like that. Okay, so depreciation is always applied on fixed assets because of life expectancy or because of lapse of time, because of wear and tear. Next one is your net investment. See, whenever you see the word net, net means we have subtracted two things. whenever we reduce या whenever we deduct depreciation from gross investment, we will get net investment. Now next one is your depreciation and capital loss. See, depreciation means that depreciation is recurring in nature. बार बार आपका जब भी वो हर महीने कट रहा है या हर साल कट रहा है, इट इज रिकरिंग इन नेचर, वेयर एज कैपिटल लॉस मीन्स वन टाइम लॉस, एकदम से एक बार में हो गया, ये बार बार आपका रिपीटिंग नेचर का नहीं होता. दिस इज द बेसिक डिफरेंस बिटवीन डेप्रिसिएशन एंड कैपिटल लॉस. नाउ नेक्स्ट वन इज योर नेट इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स. Net indirect tax means the tax which is the difference of indirect tax and subsidies. Okay, net means, when I just told you that whenever you are given net means we have deducted two things. So what we have to deduct from indirect tax? We have to deduct subsidies. Now what is indirect tax? Indirect tax means the tax which you have to give indirectly. डायरेक्ट टैक्स तो वो हो गया जो आपने अपनी इनकम में से प्रोवाइड कर दिया. इफ़ यू आर गिविंग हाउस टैक्स, सो दैट विल बी कंसिडर्ड एज योर डायरेक्ट टैक्स. बट दोज टैक्स विच यू आर गिविंग टू द गवर्नमेंट इनडायरेक्टली, फॉर एग्जाम्पल whenever you purchase something, so that product is including some kind of tax. वो टैक्स आप जो गवर्नमेंट को इनडायरेक्टली दे रहे हो वो आपसे किस तरीके से कलेक्ट किया जाएगा? या तो वो आपसे किसी आउटलेट से कलेक्ट कर लिया जाएगा, या कोई प्रोडक्ट है उसमें आपको टैक्स इंक्लूड करके जो पे करना पड़ रहा है, वो टैक्स आपका क्या हो गया? इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स. आपका जो गुड्स एंड सर्विस टैक्स GST इज द बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल ऑफ योर इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स. सब्सिडीज वो फेवर्स होते हैं जो गवर्नमेंट आपको प्रोवाइड करती है. सब्सिडीज आर दोज टाइप्स ऑफ वेलफेयर मोटिवेशंस के लिए आपको जो एक अलग से प्लस पॉइंट मिलता है गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, आपको जो वहाँ से कुछ बेनिफिट मिल रहा है, द बेनिफिट्स, या फिर आपको जो सरप्लस मिल रहा है गवर्नमेंट से, उनसे हम कहेंगे सब्सिडी. बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल ऑफ सब्सिडी इज गिवन एज योर LPG सिलेंडर्स. जो LPG सिलेंडर्स पे आपको प्रोवाइड होती है, एक्चुअल में तो वो 750 लेते हैं आपसे, लेकिन जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट सब्सिडी आपके बैंक में 200 से 300 रुपये हर महीने आ जाते हैं, क्योंकि वो आपको गवर्नमेंट कुछ पे बैक कर रही है. दैट इज़ द बेनिफिट गिवन बाय द गवर्नमेंट टू यू. अब जितना टैक्स हम गवर्नमेंट को पे कर रहे हैं और उसमें से कुछ पार्ट जो है गवर्नमेंट हमें रिटर्न कर रही है एज अ सब्सिडी, जब दोनों को माइनस कर देंगे, सो यू विल गेट योर नेट इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स. लास्ट टॉपिक ऑफ दिस चैप्टर इज योर NFIA. NFIA means net factor income from abroad. Now net factor income from abroad means, see, some of the people are working in foreign countries who belongs to India. For example, your father is working in foreign country, but he will send some part of income to India also. So whatever part of income he sent to India, likewise some of the person is sending some part of income to other country. जब हम फैक्टर इनकम वहाँ से यहाँ लेके आ रहे हैं और यहाँ से वहाँ लेके जा रहे हैं, तो उसके बीच का जो डिफरेंस कर दिया जाए उसे हम कहेंगे नेट फैक्टर इनकम फ्रॉम अब्रोड. दैट मीन्स दैट फैक्टर इनकम from abroad minus factor income to abroad. Now in this, three things are included. First one is your net compensation to employees, second one is income from property or entrepreneurship, and third one is your retained earning. This was the last topic of this chapter. Here your chapter ends. Thank you.